After the release of the first custom farming tutorial for Wii U, I got a bunch of people asking me about the 3DS version. So then I kinda stopped and thought about it. Where was the 3DS version? It only makes sense to make a 3DS version, as so many more people own a 3DS than a Wii U. This is an oversight on my part, which I apologize for, but we'll make up for it in this video. The custom farming tutorial for 3DS. As with the previous custom farming tutorial, cheating devices are not allowed, so we're not going to use them. Unlike the previous video, however, we're going to be adding in one more restriction, which is amiibo. We're not going to be covering the amiibo method in this video, because not everyone has an amiibo, and on top of that, it messes with your amiibo's AI. So although viable, we're going to be sticking to base game. Unluckily for us, custom farming on the 3DS isn't nearly as fruitful as on the Wii U, and there's no 100% definitive way to custom farm on 3DS. So instead, I'm going to be talking about the two best ways to custom farm on 3DS, which both have their pros and cons, which is Classic 9.0 and Smash Run. For each mode, I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the mode itself, how we get the most and best high quality customs, as well as some tips for success, so it's less likely that you'll lose those customs that you worked so hard to obtain. We'll start with Classic 9.0. This is by far the more difficult of the two, which is why it might not be suitable for some people. However, this mode also has a higher reward yield than Smash Run, making it my preferred method for custom farming on 3DS. Before we even start a battle, we have to choose a path, blue, green, or red, which is easy, medium, and hard, respectively. This will determine how difficult it is to defeat your enemy once the battle begins, but this will also determine how good your reward is for defeating that enemy. We'll get our customs by stopping this roulette on the red wrench, which will give us custom items or moves based on the number displayed. We'll then have to win the battle that follows to secure our customs. These are random and can be anything, from a team battle, to a one-on-one battle, to versus a giant opponent or metal opponent, and more. The only 100% guaranteed battle that you will have is versus the Fighting Me team and Master Hand. But once we defeat our opponent, the customs are ours. However, it is kind of tricky to get that roulette to stop on what we want, so we're going to be utilizing something called home screen buffering. Pressing the home button on your 3DS suspends and pauses the game that you're playing. This allows us to slowly scroll the roulette wheel by repeatedly pressing the home button. Once what we want scrolls into view, all we have to do is repeatedly tap A. Tapping A resumes our game, but it also stops the roulette. So by continuing to tap A as the game resumes, we get the next item that's scrolling to the middle of the roulette. However, there's a specific position that we want to look for when stopping the roulette. This is when our custom item is on the upper half of the roulette wheel. This position is when we want to be continuously tapping A, because if the custom item gets too close to the center, then the roulette will skip that item and go on to the next, which is something we don't want. Another thing to note is that the CPU fighters that you will be facing off against are what I like to call level 9+. This means that they have the AI of a level 9 CPU, but have higher stats than that of an average CPU, much like how Amiibo, even though you don't give it any equipment, has higher stats than a regular fighter. This means that the opponents we will be facing are especially tough, so it is important to utilize any and all items you find during your match to give yourself an edge. Now we just need to keep stopping the roulette and beating our opponents, and eventually we'll make our way to Master Hand. This is the home stretch, the final obstacle that you will face before gaining all the customs that you've earned. I recommend attacking Crazy Hand first, as Master Hand usually dishes out the first attack of the match. Master Hand and Crazy Hand are difficult opponents, just because of the sheer number of attacks that they can dish out randomly. So it's important to stay on your toes while trying to avoid any and all attacks that you can, and continuously dishing out damage to both Master and Crazy Hand. Once you reduce their health to about 310 HP, you will need to face off against the various forms of Master Core. To help you succeed against this final opponent, for each form, I will lay out their attacks and the best way to avoid each attack. We'll start off against the first opponent, Master Giant, who has 6 attacks that you need to keep in check. The head smash buries opponents and fires projectiles that explode in a 4-pointed star shape. It's best not to shield these explosions, as they do a high amount of shield damage. Avoid getting buried, then get out of the way of the projectiles, as they will explode. If you can't get out of the way, then air dodge the explosions. For stage lift, Master Giant grabs and rises the stage to the top of the screen where giant projectiles are waiting to damage you. The best way to avoid damage is actually to jump off the stage right before he pulls it up and wait for him to put the stage back down and grab the edge. For Vortex, Master Giant creates a vortex in the middle of his body. Once you get sucked in, you'll take a bunch of damage, and he also brings energy projectiles from off screen. There are 2 energy projectiles at stage level, where we are, and we can shield the first projectile and dodge roll the second projectile to avoid getting popped up and into the vortex. For his grab, Master Core will sprout 2 additional arms and search the stage for you. Once he grabs you, he'll pull you into his core and do damage. The best way to avoid getting grabbed is to utilize our ledge and get up invincibility. The Screech creates a giant wind box that covers the entire stage and blows you away. The best way to avoid it is to air dodge into Master Giant as he unleashes his attack. The laser is a very quick and powerful laser that appears after Master Giant sweeps his hand across the screen. The best way to avoid it is to jump and air dodge at the right time, which is after Master Giant swipes his hand across the screen. After defeating Master Giant, we'll be facing off with the second form of Master Core, which is Master Beast. Luckily for us, Master Beast is the easiest out of all the forms and only has a couple of attacks for us to look out for. The Jump Slam is probably the most common attack you'll see from Master Beast. He jumps up and slams either left or right of the stage, causing it to tilt and causing damage if you are under him, but this is easily avoided by staying to the center of the stage. Master Beast sends energy along the floor that sprouts into floor blades when under you. This is easily avoided as you can jump and air dodge. For his electric shield, Master Beast will walk up to you and then summon a thunderbolt from the sky that envelops his body, causing damage. You can easily avoid this by letting him walk up to you and then walking left or right out of the way. His bite attack is a quick and powerful bite from behind the stage, but it can be easily shielded or dodge rolled. With Master Beast out of the way, we now move to the next form, Master Blades. Master Blades has 4 attacks that can be quite troublesome if you don't know how to deal with them. His slash attack is quick and has high launch power, but you can shield it or dodge it. Your choice. He has 2 versions of an energy ball projectile, one big and one small, but they both act like a boomerang, being sent out and then coming back. The best way to avoid damage is to run up to him and shield, and then dodge or jump over any of the projectiles coming back. Of course, these can also be reflected or absorbed. The 5-blade combo swipes 4 blades across the screen. Bottom left, bottom right, top left, and then top right. And then the final blade crashes down from above. The best way to avoid this is to dodge roll in the direction of each swipe, and then jumping up and air dodging the last blade. The flurry attack is exactly what it sounds, and he uses all of his blades to attack you repeatedly, but this can be easily avoided by luring him to the left side of the stage and then running behind him, where he actually can't hit you. The last opponent we must face is Master Shadow, which is a carbon copy of us, including custom moves, equipment, and stats, with the AI of a level 9 bot. This can be a double-edged sword, especially if you have a high attack and low defense. This means that either of you could possibly be one-shot. However, there are a couple frames where Master Shadow is vulnerable when he spawns in, as shown here. If you use this to your advantage and hit him with a strong enough attack during these frames, then you could potentially end the battle before it even begins. But if you don't utilize this, what we must do is do enough damage to him or knock him off the stage to win. We will then be presented with Master Core, which we must launch off screen to end this classic run. Don't attack the core for too long though, because if you do, then it will unleash a final one-hit kill move. After we launch the core off screen, we'll be rewarded with all the stuff that we got throughout the run. Note that most of the custom items we get are for the characters we defeat and not for ourselves. However, these customs are still plentiful and very powerful. Here's just a bit of the stuff I got after doing multiple classic runs. And now we'll be moving on to Smash Run. Smash Run gives you 5 minutes to traverse a huge map, collecting power-ups by defeating enemies and using those power-ups in a final battle against other opponents. The goal is to raise your stats as high as possible for the final battle, so you have the greatest chance of winning. The use of custom fighters is definitely encouraged in this mode, but before we set out on our Smash Run, we're gonna equip something called powers first. We can choose and equip our powers by going into the custom character selection screen and choosing powers. We definitely want to equip some of these, because this will give us an upper hand during our Smash Run, and potentially save you if you're in a dire situation. I recommend equipping at least 1 healing power, 1 attacking power, and 1 defensive power, but you can equip whatever you want. After we're done choosing and equipping our powers, it's time to set out on our Smash Run. The question then becomes, how will we get our customs? We will get our customs by defeating enemies all over the map. These defeated enemies will sometimes drop a custom items bag, which we can pick up to gain customs. We can also get customs by opening these chests scattered throughout the map. These chests contain stat boosts and sometimes powers and custom items. However, there are 2 main things that we are after in Smash Run, one of which are these red doors, which lead to bonus rooms. Once you enter, you'll be given a time limit to complete one of various challenges. The reward for beating these challenges are a chest filled with big stat boosts and possibly custom items. The customs found in these bonus chests tend to be more rare or more powerful than chests on the overworld, and also tend to be more rare or powerful than the items dropped by common enemies. Each challenge has 3 levels of difficulty: easy, normal, and hard. Obviously, the harder the challenge, the better your reward for completing it will be. This is one of 2 places where I recommend using powers to your advantage, as defeating these challenges can be difficult. And that leads me to our second main focus of this Smash Run, which is to traverse the map and find boss enemies. These boss enemies are bigger, badder, and tougher than all other common enemies, but that also means that the reward for beating them is much better as well. These bosses include, but are not limited to, the Lurchthorn, the Polar Bear, who's weak to fire, the Boom Stomper, whose weak point is the leaf on his head, and the Dark Nut, who can reflect items and projectiles with his shield, but can also have its armor broken to make it flinch. However, the boss of bosses is the Clubber Skull. This thing is extremely stubborn, extremely powerful, and extremely dangerous. The Clubber Skull has a very high attack power, and no amount of attacking will make him flinch. Once awoken, the Clubber Skull will go on a rampage, swinging his arms and damaging anything in its path, even other enemies. When fighting the Clubber Skull, I recommend you keep a safe distance behind it, and use powers, items, and projectiles to your advantage. Once you defeat Clubber Skull, it'll drop massive stat boosts and possibly a custom item. You can be assured that any custom item that it drops will be top notch. The only enemy that you don't want to go after is this guy. Don't touch him, cause it'll be an instant KO, and it'll reduce your stats. Now that I've explained the 2 main things that we're after, I'll explain a little bit about where to find them. Here I have the map of the Smash Run area, which you can find on the bottom screen during Smash Run. And here I have marked common boss locations with a black skull on this map. I have also marked common door locations on the map with this red door icon. Keep in mind that these are not all the locations you can find these at. Also keep in mind that the Smash Run map is selected from a random set of maps, so your map may not look the same as mine. Once the timer for Smash Run expires, we'll be using all of the stat boosts that we collected in a final battle. These battles can be anything, from a regular Smash, to a race to the finish, to a 300% battle. However, whatever the battle is, we need to make sure that we win, as winning will increase the quality of our customs. Once you win the battle, the customs that you've collected throughout the Smash Run are yours. Even though the reward yield is typically smaller for Smash Run, it is much easier to do than Classic 9.0, and to be honest, a lot more fun. Here are a few of the items I got during Smash Run. That just about wraps up custom farming on the 3DS. As you can see, it's not as fruitful as on the Wii U, but there are 2 ways to do it, and the customs you get are still very powerful, and the option to choose your method is nice. I did my best to cover everything I could in this video, but knowing me, I probably missed a lot of stuff. So be sure to ask questions in the comment section down below. I put in lots and lots of work on this video, it took me forever. And I hope you liked this video and found it informative. And with all that said, I wish you luck on your custom farming, and I'll see you in the next video.